Just shut that. Decline. Are the people in the industry losing their job? How do you foresee? How can we protect our people that are in the food industry? Actually, our front of the house workers. What is the?
Austin lost signal.
Oh, okay.
Back on. Thank you.
Austin, are you back?
I'm back.
All right, awesome, great. All right, so front of the house, what are the things that we can do to make you guys safe? What are the easiest ways do you feel that we can protect you guys as we go through this?
So, I mean, we're going to have to social distance even after this is over. They're talking about the fall, expecting another round of COVID-19.
That is the projections, yeah.
And the projection is that we're going to continue to have viruses like this in the future. So this is not the end.
So those of you that come in contact with the plates and the cups and the spoons and everything that is basically transferred from one person to the other, especially a bartender in a large bar,
Correct.
People leaning in and speaking with them, they are directly on the front of all this.
Yeah, so we're going to have to reinvent and pivot to a new type of service if it continues, if we want to succeed. We've already started using iPads for taking orders. You know, we do it for our online service. We do it in the front of the house we use it as a cash register. That may be one of the technologies that we have to emphasize on, is that could very well be handed over to the client, your client. You know, they could run with it. The touching and the taking of the order, all of it can be handled within an iPad or some device like that.
Now, what about for fine dining restaurants where everyone is still like fine china, things of that such? Because most fast casual models, the serviceware is disposable, so the customers can come and clear their own tables and move their trays in and out. But for those of us that do enjoy a good fine dining restaurant, to go out and have a nice glass of wine, that still leads, if this specific thing is surface borne and can last on surfaces for a myriad of hours, how do we protect ourselves?
Well, this is the thing. We're going to have people still wanting to come in groups of 10, 5. How are they going to sit? Are we still going to have to social distance them? It's going to be a totally different way of enjoying a meal. One way I thought of is that in the finer restaurants, is that you could set the table before the guest arrives. They can pre-order. They come down, they enjoy their food. For the next course, maybe they go have a drink in the bar. As long as we're keeping our distance and setting the table and coming in, it's going to be a little cold at first, you know?
So you're stating that almost on the customer end, they're going to have to almost get used to a new style of service.
A new style of service, getting up in between meals maybe, and having the server come in and set the table and set everything, and then they come back to the table. Okay. It's just one way of looking at this, if this continues, and if these people want to be served. Okay. You know, we gotta pivot.
Yeah. Well, Austin, what about you? Do you feel like maybe there might be some pivots in the front of the house area? Because I know for food safety, we deal a lot with the back of the house and the manufacturing portion. But what about the front of the house, where we're pertaining to like the servers and bartenders?
Absolutely. So I think there's going to be a greater emphasis on environmental cleaning, and I don't think that's going to be driven necessarily by the Department of Health and the inspectors. I think that's going to be driven by the consumer. It's going to be driven by the guest. And as we're wiping down doorknobs and seats and tables and elevator buttons and chairs and everything else that comes into physical contact with the guest. It's going to be slowing down service. So we're going to need to be hospitable. People will need to understand that they'll need to wait. I think it's going to dampen profits after we get back up and running, just because it's going to be there's going to be a slower method of service that enables that. And I think that there's going to be, the word on the street is going to get out real fast that Restaurant A wasn't wiping things down and Restaurant B was. Guess where me and my friends are going the next time we go out? We're going to go to Restaurant B because they're clearly the ones who are invested in protecting the guest. So from a food safety standpoint, I think we'll still kind of gloss over front of house as we always have. Back of house is truly where the food safety hazards can be controlled. But I think front of house is going to be stepping up to the plate in a big way regarding public health in general. And I think that will be driven by the public, and that will be driven by a desire not to have a relapse of where we are now.
Austin, it's something I told my staff, and I was telling LaToya when she talked about doing this. I really think like DOH and Safe Serve for All is something that should be like literally a part of a curriculum in schools and day to day. I mean, not just the food service workers. This is it's a global epidemic. I think everyone should understand wash, rinse, sanitize, not just sanitize. Everybody's hollering sanitize. I mean, it's a process to this thing. I mean, you just don't get up and say, okay, I'm going to work in the kitchen. I don't know the basics understanding of cross contamination, and that's what we're facing with a lot of these things that's going. People are they're washing their hands, and then in return they go in a public space and grab stuff that 200,000 people has already been through. So what's the purpose of you washing your hands? You're still touching something that's already been contaminated. I mean, I'm just, I'm trying to get the understanding of telling people, if you have gloves, some people use gloves as an extension of their hands, which is the worst thing you can do. The reason why you have gloves, they're disposable. When you touch something you feel it's contaminated, take it off, throw it away, and put it in a clean pair. Some people have things like, if I have gloves, it's almost like my shield. I can touch and I can put my hands on everything. So now you contaminate everything with the gloves on. So it's, we're in times within the food industry that your daily cleaning procedures really come in play. I mean, there's a reason why you create those checklists when you get up in the morning and make sure that the hostess, the server that's working these things, they start cleaning and wiping down. That daily, weekly, you do some deep cleaning. These practices is more important than anything else, because I said you look at restaurants, especially if you're in Manhattan, hundreds of thousands of people come to restaurants every day. And you can't dictate how the individual, starts his day from a shower or sanitary needs. But you as an establishment, you are more embodied to dictate how your restaurant establishment is taken care of from the people that works for you. And literally having them, set up a routine. It's going to be a different world. Listen, I'm not a specialist. I'm not no medical doctor or whatever it is. But in kitchens, we practice this every day. In food service, we go through a routine every day. And it's unfortunate we're the first ones to suffer from the whole collapse of this this virus. But I really take it upon the people in the industry to teach our friends and family what we practice on our day to day. What does our job look like as far as cleaning, sanitizing our stations, washing down everything before and after our shifts, all through our shifts as we producing food. How many times we wash our hands on a daily basis?
Absolutely, and I think the interesting thing about glove use, as it has been traditionally done prior to COVID-19, is the gloves could become a vector. The gloves could become a source of cross-contamination.
Yes.
The silver lining with COVID-19 is it's forced everyone to sit up and pay attention to things that have often been lacking, both in food service and outside of food service, and that is public health issues.
Yes.
We sort of take these things for granted. There's been, sometimes communities or at least factions of people that believe that they don't need a vaccine against something. And I think all of this is sort of becoming, history as we speak. One of the things that a little war story to share with you is back it was right around Valentine's Day, actually, just this year. I was at a manufacturing client of mine, And and I went in to wash my hands in the kitchen. There were no hand towels, so I asked the dishwasher. I said, "You need to restock these hand towels." He says, "No, we've been out of them for 2.5 days."
Wow.
I said, "You've been out of paper towels for 2.5 days?" Yep. So I went directly to the purchasing manager. This is not a small manufacturer, by the way. They do about 3,000 meals per week. And I went to the purchasing manager. He's like, "Oh yeah, they're coming in on the truck." I'm like, "Do you want to go to the bodega and get them, or should I?" And 20 minutes later,